Welcome, traveler, to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant into my realm. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable, for when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
You still want to hear more of my story, don't you? Well, a lot has passed by since you heard from me. I'm now in my 4th year of college. I've decided that my major would be in social science and have received my bachelor's degree. I'm aiming to earn my master's degree before I attempt to run for political office. Yes, time really has changed me, and so have the voices. Allow me to put this back into context. 3 years ago, I had just graduated high school. Kelly and I have been a couple for nearly 3 years, and we both decided to go to the same university. We both had high moments and low moments together as a couple, but she always stood by my side, believing that what I had done in the past didn't make me a bad person. I appreciated her sympathy, but I didn't need it. I didn't regret killing the impersonator of Kyle, or killing Mr. Hardrow. Both of them were vile people who only wanted to see me dead, and by trusting the voices, I survived both of their plans. My past may seem dark to anyone looking in, but I only want what's best. A lot of people just don't see the terrible corruption and pain that humans cause for one another. And that's why I need to be in power to help keep them in line. Yes, I realize it might seem hypocritical, coming from the person who killed a demonic imposter and ate part of him, but I had to. Besides, people don't know true justice like I do. If I had the power of a true leader like the President of the United States, I could really change the inequality and disparity that exists in this world. I would rid the world of murderers, rapists, child molesters, corrupt thieves, and corrupt politicians. I would work to make the world great again, and I would bring about a new era of peace. That's why I've decided that once I've earned my doctorate in social sciences, I will run to be a representative of Congress, a senator. Then I will put in new legislation that allows me to be elected much before I turn 35, which is the current age requirement to be considered as a presidential candidate. There's a lot that I wanted to change, and the voices have helped me with that. But they've been acting strange lately. They've been giving me a lot of orders, some of which may help me in the long run when I try to run for political office, but they've been requesting some strange things.
Board up your apartment windows. Lose 10 pounds. Earn a concealed carry handgun license.
These didn't seem to add up, but I still trust them enough to listen. They changed my life for the better, and even though it was their plan to bring me to political office, I will be the one to carry through with my own plans. It's my life after all. They said they would only help if I gave them everything, but I just can't do that. It's my life, and I will do what benefits me the most, and others. I want to help, but they just get in the way sometimes. I want to spend more time with Kelly, but the voices always demand me to do more meaningless tasks for them. I sometimes argue with them on what to do, but I rarely win. They usually end up convincing me or forcing me to do some things I don't want to do. Kelly has been growing more and more distant due to my lack of involvement, and there's little I can do about that. The reason that I can't reform our relationship is partially because she's now dead. Yes, I wanted to lead you on, thinking that there was possibly some hope for us, but there's not. She died a semester ago during a violent and bloody shootout at our university. Allow me to explain. During one of our classes last week, during which Kelly would always wait outside for me to finish my classes, we began to hear shooting outside. A terrorist group, unaffiliated with any major group, claimed to be working for the likes of terrorist organizations like the Islamic States. I was terrified, and so were the rest of the people in the classroom, when we began to hear automatic gunfire outside of the classroom in the hallways. A deep feeling of dread sank into my stomach as I ran out to the hallway, only to be left with a horror show of people lying dead on the floor. One of them, being Kelly, had tried to pick her up, tried to wake her up, tried to resuscitate her, but it was no use. Those assholes had killed her in the name of radical politics and pure violence. These guys were pure evil. They weren't a terrorist political movement. They were cold-blooded killers, and I wasn't going to let them get away with their crimes. I saw the man strangling one of the shooters to avoid being shot with a rifle, and that's when the voices began giving me combat commands.
Proceed to the side, away from the gunfire. Get behind the shooter, and then choke him out.
I did as the voices told me, and began choking the shooter. He dropped the gun, clutching at my arms to break free, but it was too late. I choked him to death and dropped him on the ground. The man who was fighting him picked up the gun and handed it to me. After that, he ran away without saying anything besides a simple, "Thank you." I didn't have time to think. I crept on through the hallways, rifle in my hand, listening to the voices.
There will be a man who emerges to your right at the end of the hallway. Shoot him. Then aim towards the left to shoot the other man who will rush in to try to kill you.
I did as I was told and shot them both dead.
Grab your ammo magazines and proceed to the right exit. Be ready to shoot the 3 men that are guarding the entrance to the building.
I proceeded forward through the main doors and opened them slowly, as to not scare them. Their leader was standing in front of the building, delivering a speech about a new world order, one with chaos, where the likes of the Islamic States would have dominion over everyone else. He sounded like a supremacist and a fascist. I then heard it, the blood-curdling scream of a girl who was brutally decapitated by the leader. I heard the loud thump her body made on the cement. He continued on preaching and told everyone watching him that he had more men inside, holding hundreds of people hostage, and that they would be unafraid to shoot them all. That's when I decided to make my move. Without hesitation, I opened fire at the back of the heads of the 3 guards, killing them all instantly. Then, I put the gun to the forehead of the leader, who tried to turn around to slash me with his blade. I waved my finger. No, you would be doing no such thing today. I saw the fear in his eyes, and the voices giggled with glee. You should be dead. They killed off all the students who weren't in the classrooms. You should be dead. He raised his blade, and I poked his forehead with the hot barrel of the gun. I was in the classrooms at the time of your attack, and you killed my girlfriend. I don't have a heart for killers, especially when they kill people for no reason. That is when I kicked him into the ground. People like you do not deserve to live. The only reason you did what you did was to strike fear into anyone who wouldn't listen to your garbage. You fucking coward. I hit him with the butt of the rifle. Please, have mercy on me. It was then I saw police slowly approaching us, ready to arrest and detain the leader. The voices spoke to me again.
Give them the little insect. If they want to be the ones to squish him, let them put him under their boots. Death is too easy for people like him.
I placed the gun down on the ground and kicked the rifle over to one of the officers and placed my hands in the air. The officers came and picked up the leader and handcuffed him. They then proceeded to ask me questions about what happened. I filled them in on the shooting incident in the hallways. I told them about how I had already killed the 3 men inside who started the shooting, and that everyone else was safe. They went inside to inspect and identify the bodies, and that's when the press began to flood in and ask me the same questions. The voices told me to answer them calmly and to give them what they wanted. I told them all about what happened inside and gave them my thoughts on the matter. Things like this shouldn't happen, yet they still do in this world. That's why I need to be in power, to bring more people like them to justice. The press slowly left after I had answered all of their questions. The police told me that I didn't need to testify against the leader, as they already had a confession and enough evidence to place him under the death penalty. The voices and I personally wished they could be placed under solitary confinement for the rest of their life, but people considered that inhumane. People consider death to be more merciful than solitary confinement, yet so many people still fight the death penalty. It's an absurd concept in my mind, even though there are 2 different means of punishment. I try my best to focus on my studies after all of that. That way I can go and run for political office. I've earned enough credit hours to earn my master's by the next semester, but I just couldn't get that day out of my head. It plagued me for weeks. It still haunts me to think Kelly was murdered in the name of insanity and politics. That might sound hypocritical coming from someone like me, but to me, it made sense. I had a deep love for her that now was gone, taken from us by those men. I would never forgive them, or anyone who planned on doing attacks like they did. It was hard reintegrating my college life without Kelly, but I found myself quickly moving on and dating another girl. Her name is Avery, and she has followed just as hard for me as I have her. My life was a bit different after that day, but in a way, it wasn't. I gained new recognition as the slayer of terrorists on my campus, and Avery and I grew very close together. We've already discussed the idea of spending our lives together, and we both loved that idea. Professors on campus respected me more, and I'm already receiving a lot of praise from politicians who want to promote their campaigns. They told me that when my time comes, they would be ready to promote me as well. Moving on into another stage of my life seems difficult, but in a way, it's now a bit easier. The voices told me they felt the bond that Kelly and I had wouldn't last, and that I was meant to be with someone else. They praised my devotion for Avery and continued to bring me new commands, but they were commands that benefited both me and Avery. We moved in with each other 2 weeks ago, and we've been getting along so well. We have arguments every once in a while, and we've had a fight once, but the voices helped me calmly resolve the issues with her. I trusted her so much that I revealed my secret about the voices to her on the 3rd day of having moved in together, and instead of being freaked out over me hearing voices, she was so supportive and thought it was sweet that they wanted us to be together. My life was better than perfect, and it motivated me to do more. This newfound motivation has given me the confidence I need to earn my master's degree and to eventually move on to campaign after college. I have developed the confidence now where I don't need a doctorate to prove my intelligence or to justify my motives, and having that degree will only go to prove to the people how much more I am dedicated to making this world great again, to bring in a new era of peace for all of mankind. I will be merciless in office, and the voices will take me there. You still haven't left, have you? I would have thought by this time you would have stopped pursuing my life and learning more about me. Well, I hate to tell you, I've made a terrible mistake. I'm being given the last hours of my life to write this down. I realize that this is a drastic change from my usual updates to my life, but I really don't have much time. I've made an error in my judgment, and now myself and everyone around me are going to pay the price. Here, let me break down everything that has happened since you were gone. I'm in my second year of my first run as President of the United States of America. Yes, I know it's a massive change from soon-to-be doctorate, still having to graduate from college. And these stories that I write to document my life seem sporadic, almost like a random thought, or a big inconvenience to some, but it's my life, and I want to document it as I like, or, at least, as long as I have my life. Let me dive into further detail. It wasn't long after having graduated college that Avery and I married, and I began my campaign to become a state senator. I had a landslide victory in my senatorial election. I made some daring moves in the Senate to promote better education programs, ones that would let students learn what would benefit them in the real world, which passed successfully in Congress. I also made policies that would help me put more regulations on weaponry in states, making it a stricter process for people to obtain weapons, which also successfully passed. And I also made a bill that passed that allowed the legalization of marijuana as a controlled substance within the United States, just like alcohol and tobacco. I even passed an amendment to the law that restricted the age requirement for presidential candidates from 35 to 25. I had just met the right age, just in time. I was pushing more hot-button topics and defeating my opponents left and right, as they tried to fight like bastard dogs against my arguments, but the voices helped make sure that I would win. There was one of my opponents who the voices helped me anger so much that he ended up having a seizure during mid-debate, and he died shortly after. I know it's not a pleasant thing, but the voices told me that it was better that he was out of the way. He had plans on running for the Republican nomination during the presidential election that was coming up. I was a Democrat, but he was the kind of Republican that most radical and forceful Republican voters would support. I was a controlled opposite. The only reason I stood on the Democrats' side is because I needed the support of a major party, and with the Republican candidate out of the picture, victory was at my doorstep. The voices helped me to cultivate an image as a new age of independent Democrat, which reminds many people much of another famous Democrat who fought for rather independent ideologies. I wanted to fight for the most pressing issues that were on the table. America's economy was stable, but it would only remain so if I could get the radical people off my back. This is around the time where I started my campaign. I was prolific in every speech I made. Every point I made to point out inaccuracies, problems that needed to be addressed, and new policies that would benefit not only America, but the world as well, brought me great praise. Avery was such a supportive wife, always at my side, and pushing me towards the White House. It came down to the final debate between me and the Republican nominee, already having won the Democratic nomination by a landslide. During one of our last debates, I had cornered the issues presented by the Republican nominee to the point where he couldn't help but agree with what I was saying and growing more and more frustrated until he surrendered the debate. I won the presidential office. My 64 to the Republicans' 33. I had achieved my life goal to become the president of the most powerful country in the world, and at such a young age, people were able to overlook my dark past and see a bright and just future for us all to live in. That was until about 2 months ago. The voices had been more quiet than usual while I was in office, occasionally making recommendations on what policies or actions should be taken. Their stronger absence was a bit concerning to me. That was until a terrorist attack in San Diego, California rocked the nation as 208 people were killed in a mass shooting that went across the city. Violence within America was up, and people were ready to fight again. Terrorism was at an all-time low, and an attack like this was committed? There was something missing, something that I had to do. This is when the voices spoke to me.
The violence in your nation is only growing. You need to develop a way to stop this madness now. This nation is under your control, and your people support you. Make a movement to take down all the terrorist groups and murder them and their families. Leave no stone unturned. Then declare a war on all the radical nations in the Middle East who regularly support the actions carried out by the extremists. Force them out and annihilate them. With them out of the way, we can bring and establish our control to the areas.
Their plan sounded like pure madness. Conducting a war against several nations in an area of the world that is very violent, where some even have actually maintained nuclear weapons? However, Congress showed a high amount of support in conducting a war against the nations of the Middle East, as well as the terrorist organizations located in those areas. With almost little logical sense or true reasoning besides pure rage and a thirst for vengeance, we launched a war against the powerful nations of the Middle East. Nations like Iran and Afghanistan received a massive amount of fatalities during the war, but for every major nation that was affected, so were American troops. After each failed attempt of the forces to defeat each nation's government in the area, the populace of America back home grew more and more restless. The nation was in complete chaos and demanded for my impeachment. I wasn't sure what to do. I was panicking. There hadn't been this many American deaths since the Vietnam War. I had thought this new step forward would be good for the nation, but it left me with numerous failures. I was in my darkest moment. The world saw me as an absolute lunatic. I couldn't take the pressure. During the writing time I set aside for one of my letters to the United Nations, I heard the proposition from the voices, one that I will never forgive myself for taking.
You are not fit for this office. You have abused your power and have created a doomsday event that occurs yearly within your country. You are evil incarnate, and you must be punished.
Why did I ever listen to you?
Because we wanted what was best for you. It was you who became power hungry and tried to use us for your personal gain. As if we haven't done enough for you already.
What have you done to help me, huh? What have you done to help me? I threw my papers off my desk in a fit of rage.
We can fix this. It was our plan to repair this nation, and we can still help. The only problem is you're getting in the way. The only way you will be able to fix your mistakes will be to surrender yourself to us. Mind, body, and soul will belong to us.
Found a contract that I kept that served to grant immunity to other people. A presidential pardon, if you will. I quickly scratched out the important parts and began to write into the sentence, I hereby surrender my mind, body, and soul in exchange for the restoration of America. The voice spoke again.
Excellent. All that is left is to sign and to say goodbye to your wife and loved ones before midnight. We will fulfill our promise to you.
In that moment of haste, I felt a sickening thought enter my head. What if these voices had planned all along to take my soul and have the world to themselves? I was frustrated and desperate to solve the issues at hand. There was a movement across the internet to have me impeached on the grounds of crimes against humanity. I had no other choice. I signed the document, and the document crumbled to dust. The voices grew more sinister and distorted.
Fantastic. Thank you for surrendering yourself to us.
I began to panic. The voices started to sound less human and more demonic. What are you? I said with a deep sense of dread in my voice.
We are a collective of dark thoughts, emotions, and motives known to the human world by the name of Legion. We are called Legion, for we are many, and we thank you so much for surrendering your soul to us. We are very excited for you to join us soon amongst the damned and suffering.
I fell back against my desk as I saw horrifying figures emerge in front of me, the image of a man in a dark suit, all of his clothing being the color of pure darkness. His face was a collection of moving small faces that swirled in what appeared to be liquid. Tiny screams could be heard as the spirits flowed across his head.
We are a collective of humanity's most powerful and darkest desires, and we manifested ourselves into the form of a demonic entity. We are as powerful as Lucifer and Satan. Due to our desire to help humans, we help as many as we can, guide them to success in their lives, and when they fall upon calamity, we take them as our own. We twist and induce pain in the souls we capture, and we are very successful. Only one man has ever escaped our clutches, but we were given an exchange of pigs, for which we killed them all. You see, we only want human souls, for we hunger for the deepest and most powerful spirits that this world has to offer. Satan craves destruction, and Lucifer craves knowledge. We crave human emotion. We are very excited to have you join us, Rob. Prepare yourself for tonight.
And with that, the figure vanished. I am writing this last part of my story down so that people can know about everything that led up to this point. I want to make this clear. I am not insane. I can see how some might have deduced that having read my life up to this point. But I'm not. I was tricked by a powerful demon, one who will not be very kind to me after tonight. If you ever begin to hear voices, regardless of whether or not you think you're crazy, seek help. You never know if what you're hearing might just be the voices in your head or something much worse. Don't give in to the voices, because once you do, they will never let you go. Epilogue. We've been enjoying Rob's body for a while from a distance, but now that we are in control of not only him, but of the entire United States, we can continue our reign over everyone as the new ruler of the human race. Ancient texts have tried to predict the end of the world, but they're all wrong. We would never want to end the world. No. Demons love to watch the suffering and pain of humans. Some more than others. We love witnessing the darkest moments in human history and feeding off human emotion. And we are always hungry. Our hunger for human emotions is what has driven us to help and guide humans for centuries. We love to witness the pain of humans, and any human we are able to convince to join us makes us grow much, much stronger. Rob was not a fool. He was a strong human, but not strong enough to win against us. We gave him every opportunity to have us leave him forever, but he was too naive to listen to his reasoning and couldn't resist our power. He saw in us how much power we wielded, and he wanted it for himself. What he didn't realize is that we are an army of souls with an enormous amount of power, and we always get what we want. Kicking out Congress will be just our first step towards world domination. This world is full of chaos, and when people are at their darkest moments, they look for the first voice to speak up and offer a solution. Once the rest of the world is at our feet, we will be able to continue our feast on the far out stretches of the world. The entire world will be our dinner plate, and any dark emotions will be on the menu. The only question left to ask is, care to join us? Tonight's story is The Voice by Timothy Duran. He is an amazing author and a close personal friend of mine. Check out his links below. Also, a special thank you to my good friend Serifen, the Midnight Bard, for helping me out with the special sound effects on my voice at the end of the story. His links will also be down below. Check him out, you will not be disappointed. He has read one of my stories, The Choice. He did an amazing job with it. Also, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you're new.
And remember, traveler, once you step into my realm, there is no stepping out.